Here are a few of the highest earning kid actors. Number 11, Millie Bobby Brown. Netflix's 80s-inspired sci-fi series Stranger Things exploded onto the scene back in 2016, and Brown became an internationally recognized celebrity overnight. She also earned a couple of Emmy nominations for good measure. What's the going rate for a famous child actor? Apparently, it's pretty steep. While Brown's starting pay of $30,000 in showbiz made her a lot more expensive as the series went on. Brown got a check for $350,000 for every single episode of Stranger Things starting in season 3, which made her the highest paid child actor in television history. Brown has since expanded her portfolio, continuing to take on high-profile roles in Hollywood blockbusters like Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and its sequel, Godzilla vs. Kong. She's also become a brand ambassador for companies like Calvin Klein, Montclair, and even partnered with UEFA on an ad campaign. Multiple luxury vehicles, including a Mercedes-Benz V-Class Marco Polo and a Cadillac Escalade. Not bad for someone who just learned to drive. Brown bought 2 mansions for her and her family to share, one in London and another in Atlanta, where Stranger Things films. She sports various designer handbags from Louis Vuitton and others, and even indulged in some luxury pajamas, including a pair from Justin Bieber's label. Brown also makes a point to going to be a force in Hollywood for years to come, and she certainly got the bank account when The Walking Dead aired on AMC in 2010. The Atlanta-born child actor was just 10 years old during the show's first season, but his performance as the lead character's son, Carl Grimes, made him a very wealthy preteen per episode. He's since appeared in a handful of low-budget films and travels the country as an event DJ, but it was his breakthrough role that padded his net worth to the tune of $10 million. He's kept his spending habits out of the public eye, but we're... In 2003, Angus T. Jones got the opportunity of a lifetime. The child actor was cast in what would be the most successful sitcom on television during much of its run. Angus T. Jones is the half. The show was an immediate hit. Plenty of cold, hard cash for everyone involved, including Jones, who was getting $300,000 per episode at the height of the show's popularity. Jones remained the highest-paid child actor until Millie Bobby Brown eclipsed him with Stranger Things. Jones has since taken a step back from acting to focus on his multimedia production company called Tonight, the show in 2014. However, it wasn't before he became one of the wealthiest child actors of all time. Number 8. Gary Coleman. The 1970s were a revolutionary time in the world of television. More and more African-American actors got the opportunity to shine on the small strokes, running from 1978 to 1985. His performance as Arnold Jackson earned him roughly a salary of $100,000 per episode, making him one of television's highest-paid actors at the time. It also immortalized his catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?" He isn't resting on his laurels either. Though he struggled to replicate the success of his breakout role, he has found regular work both in television and film, including a 10-episode stint in The Walking Dead's 5th season. While Everybody Hates Chris had a brief 4-season run, Tyler James Williams certainly made the most out of his time on the show. The Olsen twins were all the rage in the 90s. They took turns playing Michelle Tanner on the hit sitcom Full House. Popularity quickly demanded a much more competitive salary. By the final few seasons of Full House, the Olsens were getting $80,000 an episode. Not bad for a couple of elementary school kids. They took the fame they got from the show and ran with it. Wealthy. It's been estimated that their net worth is around $250 million each. She was born in Los Angeles and started acting at 7 years old. She started as a kid. Number 4. Miley Cyrus. Before Miley Cyrus became... Still, it puts her at number 10 on the list of all-time child actor salaries. Since graduating from her Disney Channel days, and currently, Cyrus regularly spends thousands of dollars on hair extensions, and given how frequently her hairstyle seems to change, it's easy to see why. Number 3. The Harry Potter Trio. Were 3 unknown kid actors when the first film was initially released in 2001. We're pretty sure he's got enough money from Harry Potter to make up for the lack of work. Radcliffe, who led the franchise as Harry Potter himself, was paid something in the ballpark of $100 million, since putting away his wand for good. But his most famous and lucrative role will always be his first one. She still took home about $60 million for the 8 films, and she's since gone on to have the most post-Potter success of the 3 leads. The 2000s saw no greater rise to child superstardom than that of Lindsay Lohan. Between 1998 and 2007, Lohan piled appearances. She was barely old enough to drink legally, but she was already a multimillionaire. Handbags. Her reckless spending sapped her once healthy bank account dry. Later, he'd be the face of one of the most watched shows on television. earning himself millions of dollars in the process. He instantly became a child star and even appeared in a number of Hollywood films, including Big Fat Liar, which co-starred Amanda Bynes and Paul Giamatti, and Agent Cody Banks, Hollywood's attempt at a kid-friendly James Bond movie. His next videos.